Hello everybody, I'm Illyri. I've had a bit of a wishy-washy relationship with this channel. None of it professional at all. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call Little Picture Puppet Show exactly professional, but I will be humble to my own imperfections. Instead, I'm going to go over something I'm quite passionate about. Monsters. Nothing too specific, just monsters in general. These could be folklore legends, creepypastas, or undocumented creatures, any of those, anything that falls into that category, I will be going over in the future. Anyways, let's continue with our first, the lake monster. When I mention lake monster, you might immediately assume Loch Ness monster. Yes, you're right. But no, this episode is going to be a twofer. First episode and it's already a twofer. There's another lake monster that's pretty much identical. I'm talking about the Lake Champlain monster in northeast US, Champ. These two have deviations from their standard depictions, but they both have been described as a mix between a plesiosaur and a sauropod. There isn't exactly a lot of detailed reports on their body structure, but this is the most popular. A long neck, small head, large body, with a stubby tail, and typically one or more pairs of fins. I found a few illustrations where the monster had more terrestrial-looking hind legs, sort of what a brontosaurus would have, but this is more an exception than the rule. So let's start off with our girl Nessie first. The earliest of a lake monster in the Ness River go back to the story of St. Columba, all the way back in the year 565. Basically, St. Columba was walking near the river Ness, and his guys were bearing a dead body. They claimed it was killed by something called the river beast. He and then had one of his followers cross the river, most likely to bait the monster out, have a little snack, but it wasn't a snack. This was instead a way for St. Columba to show off and make the creature pull back into the depths before it could take a chunk out of his leg, basically yeeted it back into the loch. Later reports wouldn't start popping out until the 1800s, but from then on it's pretty much became popular right away. So once it starts around the 1800s, it just explodes. Lots of sightings in summary would be these sort of humps jutting out of the water. I have a lot of problems with this, but I'll explain later. There's also a few weird reports. One in 1888 called the creature stubby and almost salamander-like. Another of this elephant squid looking thing where the long neck was instead a trunk and large eyes at the base of the body. This was called the Loch Ness Muppet Monster or something like that. Champ is similar, but it has a bit different of a history since it's in America. Origins begin stories from the local Native American tribes who claim to know a creature that dwelled in Lake Champlain. Gitaskog, I hope I said that right, was described to be more snake-like with horns. Gitaskog, in some interpretations, was known to eat humans, also. Earlier findings start with Samuel de Champlain, whom the very lake is named after. Sightings wouldn't pick up until the 1900s, however, with increased amounts of people seeing a snake-looking creature that would also have one or more humps protruding from the water. I classified Champ as a plesiosaur like earlier, and there's a reason. There's a bit of a contradiction. Sometimes Champ would be shown to have a larger base with pairs of fins. Also, some photographic evidence would be impossible for a serpent of such a size to float above the water in such a way. However, I say evidence without sincerity. There isn't a single piece of evidence that hasn't been able to be called out as a hoax or misinterpretation of something else. The scientific community concluded that Champ may have been a larger garfish. This thing right here. As you can see, these fish are very slender and very long with a big old pointy snout. If you gave me this as an explanation, I would understand completely why this could be Champ. Not exactly a sea snake or an eel, but I guess it's as close as a fish could get to such proportions. So, what am I to make of all this? Honestly, it doesn't look good. Though both of these creatures reside in a large body of water, that's pretty much all I can consider. Both of them have cultural roots to support claims which may sound good, but instead, it's more likely to stir up false claims for people who want to be famous or special. Samuel de Champlain himself saw the monster, so it wouldn't be implausible to think there's a few people in line to also see it. Also consider the late 1800s were a time where dinosaurs were becoming more popular. It would be common for paleontologists to scramble together repeated fossils and call them something completely new, by accident sometimes. A little ironic how both these early reports only started picking up after 1870. The sightings themselves are somewhat baffling. A lot of these mention multiple humps coming out of the water. This makes no sense. Not only is it impossible for a snake to contort its body in such a manner, but it makes no practical sense either, snake or not. Sea snakes move similar to regular snakes on land, horizontally. Plesiosaurs and sauropods also have stiff necks incapable of such advanced movements. The only way I would consider that to happen is it got out of its mythological bed with a bad pain in its neck. Perhaps it should see a chiropractor. Photographs, for the most part, leave a lot up for interpretation. A few exceptions seem to have lighting problems. I'm not here to discourage any prospects of finding monsters. I'm showing you a pattern of how these more famous monsters tend to creep up in the mainstream. Once someone famous or historical mentions a monster, you'll never hear the end of it. There is, however, something endearing about all of it. It gives us hope that we haven't found everything, and there's still another present under the tree we haven't found yet. There's an art in monsters. It's something you'll never understand, but understanding it at all would remove the fun from the equation. It's a dance of ignorance, and the excitement that we're not done finding everything.